Are you ready to jam?
Oh, yeah.
At Genzabar Jam, Genzabar's annual meeting for users in Orlando, Florida, 2023 at the Gaylord Palms Resort. We're going to learn, share, and connect. You can register today at jam.genzabar.com. Ready to revolutionize your higher ed marketing game?
Yes.
Well, then don't miss out on Element 451's Engage Summit, June 27 and 28. Explore the cutting-edge world of education and AI technology and unleash your creativity like never before. Register today at engage.element451.com and use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. I gave these gentlemen a round of applause individually the first time. I'm going to just do it one of them now. We've got Dr. John Porter, Rob Westervelt, and Mark Falkowski, part of the merger and acquisition team, the executive leadership team here at Lindenwood University, talking about merger and acquisitions. Lindenwood University's acquisition of Dorsey College, giving you we're pulling the rug back, giving you a look under the hood. What other analogies are there? We're talking about Lindenwood's diversification of revenue strategy, and that's where we're going to start. Dr. John Porter, over to you. That was an important part as we talk about where are we at now? What was the importance of this acquisition? What does it do for the university? Really, other than hiring me, this is probably one of the most important moments in the history of the university. What does it mean to Lindenwood? Mark, you can't hit my buttons.
Give yourself an applause there, Joe. I mean,
that was a good setup, wasn't it? Talk
good.
About diversification of revenue.
Yeah. So one of the things when I came to Lindenwood, and not that I had all the answers, but just coming from the corporate world, right away, I don't know if people have taken a step back and thought about it, but you think about, students coming in and paying tuition or room and board, and that's the revenue stream for the university. Then a COVID hits and you think about what really happens. Before COVID hit, we even thought as a university, listen, we have to diversify our revenue stream. So if you go out to many of the companies, corporations that are out there, they have hundreds, if not thousands, of products and services. And so they're not predicated on just one revenue stream from one product set or service set. Think about a mutual fund. The reason people are in mutual funds is one's up, one's down, but in the long run, you make money, right?
True.
So one of the things that we want to do at Lindenwood, we came up with the 40-40-20 rule. And the 40% of revenues we want from on ground, our traditional campus environment, 40% online, which is what we're either building or acquiring, and 20% is that alternative revenue where we formed a company called Lindengage, where we believe that we can have margin, we can provide IT expertise, utilizing our students and cycling our students and giving them that real experience, real success, but also giving us a revenue stream of margin from IT companies and their companies or their customers to help us drive that stream. So the 40-40-20 is what we're driving, and that'll give us our diversification of our revenue. And so Dorsey will be another revenue stream. It's a career college. It's hitting a different set of, let's say, customers or students than Lindenwood University goes after. And so it adds up to diversifying our revenue, and it gives us better options and revenue streams that we don't have to rely just on one. And so as we bring other schools in, that'll be a different customer set or student set, and give us a different revenue stream for that institution and for Lindenwood education system overall.
You will learn by the numbers. I will teach you.
A lot of numbers in there. We like as we learn about what's all behind this. Rob, I'll go to you because apparently you're going to leave the podcast in the middle of the recording to go take a more important meeting. I can't imagine what that is, your son's birthday, but we'll forgive you. You've talked about Lindenwood educational system, Lindenwood University, Dorsey College offering career training, maybe another school or two or three. The value chain, could I move through this system? What does that mean for a student to move through a system, not leave a system, but a system to be able to offer everything that student might need and the lifetime learning? Can you talk about that? Because you really articulate it very well.
Yeah, when you think about strategy and the concept of competitive advantage, the competitive advantage comes with how your key activities fit tightly together. And so when we think about what is the next great learner-centric university, it really evolves into this understanding of an ecosystem. And that ecosystem has these related entities that work in concert with each other to serve the student. And going back to what I mentioned in the previous podcast of anticipating those student needs and delivering what they need, when and how they need it. So we often
Good insight.
talk about lifelong learning, but we're not structured around lifelong learning. So when we look at our system, we want it to be the case where a student can come in and they can just stay within our system and get all the education they need. That's kind of the grand vision. Now, it's difficult to do that by just building everything yourself, because that takes core competencies, expertise, resources. So acquisition helps with that, because you're able to actually go out and look and say, these guys do this really well. It's a really well-run organization like Dorsey. It complements what we're doing, and there's synergies that we can have between these two organizations. So it becomes a really appealing target for us because of all those things. Now that they get added to the system, now we look and say, okay, well, what else could fill in this ecosystem to meet the needs of the students in our region and potentially around the country and the world. So the strategy sort of becomes more and more clear as you add more pieces to your ecosystem. And now our conversations are different because we know more specifically, okay, here is a nice fit with what we're doing right now, and this would be a great complement. And we could see how a student could come into the system through this particular entity and stay and continue on.
And when it comes to timing, getting back to that question, as schools become more and more distressed, we've talked to so many schools and they've been very gracious with their time and we've learned a lot. But some schools, to President Porter's point, come to us and they have as much debt or more than they do assets, or all of their assets, even their endowment or their real property, whatever it might be, are totally collateralized against outstanding debt. And when you have a school like that, even if they have great things like Rob just talked about and could be a good fit, it becomes a harder conversation about how you make that work, or if there's a way there forward with a school in that situation, which I think gets to your point and back to your question. The prompt I think you were trying to get at, Joe, is that schools have to have foresight about what's coming down the road and see this in advance. Because if you wait to that point, we've had to regrettably, say, look, we just don't see it's a fit for schools in that situation. We don't see a way. If you're a week away from closing your doors, it's probably too late for this to work. But if there's leaders and board members and presidents and administrators out there who can see this in advance and see the things we're talking about here, I think that's going to be the really next step to making this work and to continuing on and the schools being able to continue to serve their students. But it's new, right? Like anything else, it will take time. That's a new thought, a new concept to try to combine with people in higher ed. Schools want to do it alone. They have their own identity, their own heritage, their own affiliations, and so we understand that as well. So, and like John said, we don't think we have all the answers, but we do think we have a path here that's innovative and that does, for certain schools, is going to really be the way forward.
I'm glad you guys are out there, because I'm a struggling school right now, and boy, my enrollment's going down, but I'm just going to come to Lindenwood. You guys are going to help me out, right? I mean, I'm glad there's a system out there like Lindenwood. You're just going to take me, no questions asked. I can join the system. I mean, that's not true, is it? But I mean, schools do think that way. Like, I'm still a university. Somebody's going to come along and save me. But this is as much of or more a financial decision than it is a student decision. And that is something that we have to get around when we're talking about M&A. We are student focused. And I say universities in general, we're student focused. We do what's best for the students, but there is revenue and there are expenses. And if you have more expenses than you have revenue, and you have more debt than you have revenue, you're not an attractive addition to the system. And Dr. Porter, isn't attractiveness to the system a key here? And who can join the system? Who can be part of the system?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. Mark said it very, very well. If you've collateralized, all of your assets, then what's left? And so I think institutions have to come to the reality of where they are. When it comes to their assets and how much cash is on hand and how they can make operations work. And so if you realize too late, and it's going to be very difficult for another institution like a Lindenwood education system to pick them up, because you're so far down the debt road. The return on investment is going to be years and years and years. And that's a long time when you're talking about higher education. And so let's admit it, if you've got expenses and you got revenues, and like you said, you're in a deficit mode rather than a margin mode, a positive margin mode. That's bad business, and we all know that, and we know that this is a business that we're in, and it's a higher education business. And so if you don't have margin, then you don't have opportunity to invest back in. And so as an acquiring institution, it's very, very important that we're in a position where we can have margin for who we bring on. It may be tough at first, but that's where potentially shared services comes in. You look again at best practices, you look at the tooling, you look at the processes, you look at the buying power of both the acquisition, a Lindenwood education system, and the acquiree. Put all that together and see, if that makes sense. And so it may not come in as positive as you would want, but if it comes in so negative, it's going to be very, very unattractive. And I think that's what leaders have to look at is don't wait too long, because if you're going out and consolidating the loans and you get a higher loan, but you got a bigger monthly payback on top of your normal operating costs, it's going to be very, very difficult for the acquiree or acquirer to come in and do something that's going to be of impact and success. And so that's what we all want. Rob said it earlier. Whoever we bring onto the Lindenwood education system, we want them to flourish. We want to put resources and really help drive and see great success out of that. For obviously, you're saving not only existing students, but you look at the alumni base, and there's a lot of heartfelt feelings about these institutions, and we want to keep them going. So yeah, you got to look at the financials. I mean, obviously that's really what a lot of it comes down to. But again, going into a system where you can keep your branding, your identity, your endowment, all those things, that's a great path to go down. And so if you're in that position, you got to seriously take a look at this and see what's the right path.
I was just going to add, for colleges that are even thinking about doing this, it's going to take time, and it's going to take time on their side, because when you go through this process, and Mark can speak to this in detail, they're going to have to get a lot of information together. There's going to be a lot of conversation, boards. It's not going to you're not going to just get picked up within a year and all the dust settles. There's a lot involved in this. And that's something that we've learned through this process, is there is a lot of detail. And then when it comes to a nonprofit, there's just a lot of political issues. There's a lot of, governance issues that have to be worked out just on their own side. But let's say everybody's on board and they're like, yeah, we want to be acquired. It's like, that is just the very beginning. You've got a lot of work to do. So, we would encourage schools that are even considering this, start the conversation right away. It doesn't mean you have to do it, but if you are serious, it's going to take some time.
Yeah, and one of the beauties of the system that I don't know that we talked about in detail is it minimizes disruption for the schools involved, and that was by design. We didn't just accidentally back into that, but we thought by having these separate entities, operating entities, the employees, people want to say, what does it mean to me? How is this affecting my day to day? Well, in the case, and it's bearing out here in our current acquisition with Dorsey, the employees are still employed by the same employer. They continue to go to work and do the same job functions. They continue to serve the same schools. And so the day-to-day for the vast majority, for 99+% of people, is they continue to do the same job. And I think that is a comforting feeling for schools to think about when they're going through this, that, we care about our people. Our people include staff and students, and for students too. Their day-to-day has not changed. They continue to remain enrolled and continue to attend the classes at the same institution in which they started. And they will graduate from that same institution. That's what their degree and diploma will say, the same institution. And so for both the students and the staff, this is a model that minimizes that disruption.
It's time to jam.
Oh, yeah.
At Genzabar Jam, Genzabar's annual meeting, May 31st to June 3rd. Jam is the annual meeting for the Genzabar community. Engage with Genzabar product experts and executives. Share ideas, insights, and information with your peers. It's time to jam.
Oh, yeah.
You can register now at jam.genzabar.com. Don't settle for average marketing strategies. Join us at the Element 451 Engage Summit, June 27 and 28, and discover how to harness the power of AI technology in higher ed marketing. Connect with industry leaders, explore cutting edge technologies, and future proof your marketing strategy. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off. Register now at engage.element451.com. To do what we've done, and go to you, Dr. Porter, real fast, and you can all jump in. It would be a mistake for us to have this conversation without recognizing the role the board played in this. Like it would be just, we can't even overstate how important it is for the board we have in particular, but a board in general plays a huge role in this process. In particular, our board at Lindenwood, helped redesign this whole process for the system itself. Dr. Porter, you want to talk about that just for a second? Because we need to.
Yeah, you beat me to it. I was gonna bring up our board. Want to make sure we cover that. And so, one of the things is, and I credit the prior leadership at Lindenwood University, and this goes back 20 years ago to the Spelman area, where this university was not in such good shape. And the then president really put some aggressive plans in place, and certainly the board was aggressive going along with him. And so that really put us in great position where we are today. The current board that we have is very, very forward thinking, and not me coming in. And of course, they wanted to pick a non-traditional president to come in that had some obviously business background. And so that was what they set out to do. And for me, thankfully, that's exactly what happened. And so the ideas and thoughts that I brought forward aligned very much with what they wanted to see at the university. And so clearly, when I laid out an M&A in our strategy with our board chair, with Don Tuttle, it was like, absolutely. And you think about the rest of the board and us presenting and laying out our strategy and what we want to do as a university. It was very, very important. Obviously, the board has to be 100% behind, and really giving us the tools and allowing us to use what we have the best that we can, which means it's investment. I mean, you think about this transaction alone, there was quite an investment from legal fees, outside counsel. The team that we had on this transaction, I believe, is the best in the country, with Mark leading it and leading the outside counsel. You've got to be willing to put those kinds of investments in, and that means the board has got to be, right there with us, which they've been. I tell you what, it's been 100% that they have been right there with us every step of the way, cheering us on. And these have been some very tough discussions. We've brought other opportunities and where we said, we don't want to pursue this any further. We got into some other diligence, and we said at that point, don't want to continue. And so you got to make those decisions. But when the board's right there with you, and the other thing too is we've got 14 on our board, and so it's not too big. It used to be in the 30s, and so that was really, really important that it was pared down. The other thing that we did, and I credit our chairman Tuttle, it was really getting the right skill sets on our board, the entrepreneurship background. We've got several on the board. We just added some new board members. They've got a great background that really have that entrepreneurial spirit and experience, and that really helps us drive the strategy forward.
Rob, I'm definitely not going to make you late for your son's birthday party, but I do want to ask you if there is another strategy, a VP of strategy out there at another university that is forward thinking, going, okay, we've got to think about this. Can they reach out to you? Can they have this conversation with you on how this happens? What happens?
The president is saying no. No, I'm just kidding. No, he really was saying no. No. Yes, absolutely. I've had people reach out to me already. But to President Porter's point, this is not an easy thing to do. And our board does deserve a lot of credit. We restructured the university. And I've told both President Porter and Mark this. I mean, at most universities, an idea like this would be DOA. It's like you want to redo our bylaws, restructure the university, create a subsidiary level that the university proper is going to drop into. It would be like, no way. Yeah. We don't want to do this politically. We don't want to spend the time. So that really set us up to make all of this possible. And then, of course, all the work that Mark did to make that a reality. So to my, colleagues out there in the strategy world, you really have to assess the appetite to do something like this. Now, in terms of like coming on board, yeah, of course, we want to talk to as many people as possible and look at the art of the possible.
That's what I meant.
But yeah, absolutely. People can reach out to me and, to Mark and obviously President Porter.
And you can call Joe if you want to, right?
Yeah, and Joe. Yeah, Joe knows a lot about this too. So
A little bit. No,
Yeah.
I don't know anything.
Yeah.
I'll defer to the experts and Mark, same to you. And Rob, you can go whenever you're ready.
I got to
Yeah, that's fine. Don't be late for your son's birthday because then I get blamed.
Yeah. President and Porter and I, we stay for our entire commitments.
Yeah. Thanks for leaving in the middle of the episode. Rob Westerville, everyone. No. So look, deal signed, done. Lindenwood acquires Dorsey. We're done, right? The next day, we just go about our business and our lives are normal, right? When a deal is done and the president signs that document, boy, we just move forward, right? There's no other work to be done.
Well, Joe, and you can even pre-sign, right? So that's the beauty of it. You can sign before even closing day.
Yeah. But there's no work that happens after that, right?
Right. So, well, that's interesting. Right. And so depends on, no. Yeah. Great question. And of course the answer is no. There's a lot of heavy lifting still going on, and we couldn't be doing it without our external teams to help us, because schools are not designed, like to President Porter's point, schools are not designed to carry out multiple transactions. If you're a big organization, you probably have your own M&A team, you have your own transactional attorneys, you have a team of 100 attorneys in house doing this. That's just not that common in higher ed. So there'd be no need to have that full team on staff all the time. And so that's why you go and hire the best people who know how to do these things, who've done them before, because they're so complicated. And so post-close, this particular example is called the conversion transaction, and they're common in higher ed, and it's where the for-profit school is going to be converted ultimately for tax purposes and the eyes of the U.S. Department of Education into a nonprofit school. But that's a long process. That is a multi-year process. And so we're going through the correct channels. We're doing the applications, filing the paperwork that's required of us. There's the TPPPAs, there's the TPPA. There are all these required obligations that we have to continue to meet on the Dorsey side to make that happen. And so it's a lot of work still. It's fun, it's exciting, and like President Porter and Rob said, the conditions were just right for this success, for the board to be at a place where they're willing to take calculated risk to transform the university and set us apart, then hiring President Porter and bringing him on, because you have to have that unwavering support, because it is a grind and it is not easy to do this. And without that, I think that's maybe why a lot of schools end up going down the road a little bit and determining it's just something that we can't do.
That's a really good point, because you could have pulled the plug on this 100 times, 150, 200 times. There was a lot of frustrations for the both of you going through this, the paperwork, the reams of paper, the review, the time. I mean, did it ever get to the point for either of you just go, is this even worth it? Or is it just laser focused? We're going to get this done.
No, we never hedged at all. It was 100%. We're going to get this done. We're going to move forward. It's part of our strategy. And that's what I love about the leadership team here, is that when we make a decision, we go do it. Now, we learn things along the way. We're willing to be agile and make a left or right turn if we need to. But this is the track that we were on, and we weren't going to turn back and do something different because we knew we were doing the right thing for the university. And it's all about what we can do for our students and for the university, and after the fact, even with bringing Dorsey on, now it's the governance now. So meeting with their CEO and president and looking at their forecasts and projections and where they are with their students, and so now you've got that layer that's part of it. But that's exciting. That's what's great about it. That's why you do it. And so we're reaching another set of students that we as a Lindenwood education system would never have reached. So there was no hesitation whatsoever. I really compliment the team on, once we said, which you were part of, Joe, that we're going to go do this. Now let's just get it done. What's next for Lindenwood education system? There's been I say a lot. We probably get a school a week that's interested in coming on board, and unfortunately, as Mark has already said, some have come forward, and it's so late in the game that it's not something that we can pursue. But also, it has to fit the niche that we're looking at, and that is it the programming that we want that's complementary, or is it deeper for us, so it goes to a different level for us, or is it something so different that it's like a Dorsey that is very complementary but in a different way? And so it's not a matter of do they have the financials. The biggest thing that we found, and that I wanted to make sure that we emphasized here at Lindenwood, is that it's got to be a cultural fit. We were down the path with another university out west, and everything lined up. That the programming lined up, the financials lined up. They had great margin, but the culture was not going to be a good fit for us. And if the culture is not going to be a good fit, it's not worth it, because you cannot change another institution's culture. And so if it's not the right fit culture-wise, regardless of everything else, you have to say no. And I think that's where we have the power at Lindenwood, where we just said, no, we're not going to do that. Doesn't matter how appetizing the financials look and what it can add to our portfolio. If it's not the right culture, it's not right to bring it on.
Yeah, the chemistry check is a huge point in that process. And that's just another step where you may not pass go on that potential school. It was, I mean, our vision, we believe in our vision, and that's why we were unwavering. It wasn't always easy. It was a grind. I mean, the weekly meetings, multiple weekly meetings to screen for schools, to change the criteria, to set up a new screen, to go back to the drawing board, to continue to adapt and evolve with what we're looking for. It's not easy, and it takes time, and time you could be focused elsewhere. But luckily, Dr. Porter's always said we're always going to stay focused on Lindenwood University. None of that detracted from the work at Lindenwood University. And John, maybe you want to speak to that.
Yeah, what I said is we've been like a lot of institutions where we've seen the decline in enrollment and revenue, and I said we're going to fix our core. So it's great that we have an M&A philosophy here. It's great that we have Lindengage and a for-profit company. It's great that we want to establish 100 partnerships as you think about the initiatives for our strategic plan. It's great that we have all these initiatives, Destination Lindenwood, but we are not taking our eye off of fixing our core. And as you may or may not know, bringing Joe in, Joe has just done a phenomenal job as our Senior VP of Enrollment and our marketing. And so we are every day focused on how we are improving our current business and how we are driving. It's very difficult to see growth in enrollment without lowering the bar. We are not lowering the bar. We're not going to lower the bar one bit. We're going to increase our enrollment. We've used different marketing tools, and we're doing much better job on the digital side and our digital marketing and tool sets there. So Joe's brought a lot of value there, and so we're not taking our eye off the ball here. We are fixing our core. We're seeing the improvement, the lights at the end of the tunnel, and that's exciting. And then when you have all these other peripheral things like the M&A, like the Lindengage, like Destination Lindenwood, like our brand vision, it just sweetens the pot for us. And so we're really excited about our future. But again, we don't have all the answers. We don't have all the silver bullets. We haven't arrived. We've got work ahead of us, a lot of work ahead of us. And we'll have our ups and downs. There's no doubt about that. But I think we're staying the course. That's what's important.
And for those of you who don't know, Joe, besides being a successful author, podcast host, he is an amazing Senior VP of Enrollment Management.
I am the smartest man alive!
I've been waiting to use that one.
Right. Okay, there we go. Good. You got it in. But Joe, I mean, it has been so great to have you added to the team and bring your experience here. It is just, we all enjoy working together. And as you can tell, this is a team that is tight knit, and we do work hard, but we have the utmost respect for one another. But maybe just talk about your observation coming in with some of these things underway and so far in your time here at Lindenwood. It's already been over a year, right?
Yeah, it's really weird to be asked a question when I'm the host of the podcast. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
I like how he switched that around.
Yeah, I'm really actually impressed. I think the reason I took the job was because of the laser focus of the team. I mean, obviously getting the job offer helps, but as you look about where you want to go next in your career and what type of job you're looking for, you want to look at an institution that is prime for growth. I will be honest, as I researched you, John, and I saw 33 years at IBM and other opportunities where there might have been another president with 33 years in higher ed, that was a clear choice for me. I needed to work for somebody with a business background because I think that is the future of higher education. So you have to start at the top. And then I looked at the people around you and said, okay, where are the minds, the M&A team, the improve the core, the for-profit company, the focus on revenue and expense. That's a world I come from. I come from for-profit education, and I went to some nonprofit areas, and there wasn't a laser focus on that. It was, how much of a deficit can we run, and how long can we run a deficit for? Not we need margin. That's a future for me, and so that it was the relentless prioritization that I felt from the team that led me to this. But I want to leave this here and say how if there's a school out there that goes, this is very interesting, I might want to be a part of something like the Lindenwood education system. What do I do? What do I do?
Yeah, call us up. I mean, we're working. We have day jobs, but we're always happy to talk. I mean, call me up.
Call the general counsel, Mark Falkowski.
Right. Here's my contact information.
Yeah.
But
we'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, but we're always happy to talk, because that's one of the things that helped us learn along the way, was talking to other colleagues in the industry, to other investment bankers, to other presidents, to board members, to people selling schools, to the attorneys doing the deals, to people also being innovative in higher ed as well, and setting up, conglomerates and other types of kind of transformative models. We're all in this together and figuring it out together. And so we'd be happy to talk.
Yeah, I would say this too. We said this to the Dorsey team. We're going to learn some things from Dorsey. This isn't about, Lindenwood being in some control position and we have all the silver bullets or all the answers and advice. Dorsey has been doing some really, really great things. They've seen some really good growth. They've got a great projection going forward, and we're going to learn some things from them. That's right. That's what's awesome about this, is we don't go into this with we've got the answers and we're purchasing you. This is about how we're going to learn together, how we're going to grow together, and how we're going to make things better overall, this whole ecosystem.
Yeah, I mean, it's a transformative time in higher ed, and as you can tell, Lindenwood is in a very transformative time as well, and that's exciting, and we're trying to keep up and be at the forefront of that pack.
What we'll never be able to do, right, as we end this episode, is accurately portray the amount of work that Mark Falkowski has put into making this deal get done. If you're out there in higher ed and you have no idea what it takes to do something like this, there's one person in the country that does. With that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd.
And that was not legal advice.
We hope you enjoyed this special edition episode of the EdUp Experience podcast, where we talk all about Lindenwood University's acquisition of Dorsey College. Hopefully you were able to get a glimpse into some of the detail that goes into a transaction like this. Some of this conversation, simple, some much more complicated. Certainly there's a lot of focus and passion that goes into something like this. And, every time I go back and listen to these episodes, I always learn something. Hopefully you all took away something from this as well. Ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp'd. Are you ready to jam?
Oh, yeah.
At Genzabar Jam 2023 in Orlando, Florida, May 31st through June 3rd, for 4 days of breakout sessions, peer-led discussions, countless hours networking with your peers and the Genzabar team, social events, meals, everything. Come down, learn from each other, network. It's time to get together, and you can do that at Genzabar Jam. Register now at jam.genzabar.com.
Oh, yeah.
Experience Element 451's Engage Summit Conference this June and get ready to unleash the power of AI in higher ed marketing. Deep dive into how this emerging tech will revolutionize the education landscape, from personalized student engagement to turbocharging your marketing efforts with AI. These sessions are guaranteed to help you smash your enrollment goals. Connect with like-minded professionals, explore cutting-edge ed tech products and services, and leave with the knowledge to supercharge your institution's growth. Don't wait. Register now at engage.element451.com and seize your chance to lead the pack in the AI-driven education revolution. Use promo code EdUp50 for $50 off your registration.